Hey and welcome to the MX-5 guide on the Rudskogen Motorsenter in iRacing. This track is great because practice pays off. It looks impossible at first sight, but once you apply a few strategies to the technical turns, then it's not difficult to master this track. If you want help in your practice sessions, which pushes you closer to your limits, then you can download the Ghost Car on the community Discord, which is linked in the description down below, and you can also find the link to the Garage 61 team there, which allows you to compare your telemetry with mine. Approach the first turn on the far right edge of the track, aim for the outside curb and hit the brakes shortly before you reach it. You want to brake hard and shift down into second gear. Be aggressive on the throttle and attack the inside curb, but be a bit careful. You won't see me pushing the track limits as far as I usually do on other tracks, because this track is littered with slowdown penalty areas. In some turns you even get a slowdown before you receive an incident point, which feels a bit ridiculous, but it is what it is. You should push hard in your practice runs to figure out where those slowdowns are, but when you're racing around here, then you want to go for the safe approach, because a single slowdown can throw you far back and completely destroy your race. Attack the curb into the second turn, and I'm also using a small trick here. I'm not relying on my brakes, instead I'm also blipping the throttle to shift down into first gear. This not only helps me to slow down a bit, it also helps me to get more power on the track, because we are still driving into a quite steep slope, and when you are in a lower gear, then your engine has an easier time to accelerate the car, similar to you when you are hitting a slope with a bike in real life. Hit the brakes shortly before you reach the 50-meter board and shift down into third gear. It's very important that you keep the wheel straight while you are braking and shifting down, because otherwise the rear will get loose, which will make it really difficult to not lose the whole car. Coast, be patient and attack the first inside curb. Gently touch the brakes when you apex and shift down into second gear. I also manually blipped again to keep the car stable on the downshift. At this point it's important that you are not too aggressive on the brakes, because you are carrying a lot of sideways momentum, and when your inputs are too hard, then you will lose the rear and the car will spin on you. Engage the throttle as soon as you see that you will hit the exit and aim for the second inside curb. As next, you want to let the car swing to the right side of the track to hit a wide entry into the next section. Aim for the first curb, attack it, and lift as you approach it to rotate the car off the throttle. Once you hit the apex, you want to get back on the throttle and push the car towards the next right-hander. It's the same story for the right-hander. You want to lift, rotate the car, and get back on the throttle as soon as it's pointing towards the exit. We are approaching the hairpin, and here you want to hit the brakes shortly after you pass the white line on the ground and shift down into first gear. Attack the inside curb and let the car swing deep into the turn. And here you can see what I mean. You want to let the car swing deep to the right edge of the track and carefully engage the throttle again to prepare a nice and smooth exit. For this, you want to hold the throttle at roughly 50% and slam it down once you see that you will hit a tight line around the upcoming inside curb. Drive onto the curb to get a wide entry into the next hairpin and use the end of the barrier on the left as marker for braking. You want to brake hard and shift down into first gear. This turn is pretty basic, so you want to keep it simple. Just aim for a smooth line and get back on the throttle as soon as you get close to the apex. Drive onto the curb again to get a wide entry into the next left-hander and use the dark tire marks on the track as marker for braking. For reference, that's how they look like from the cockpit view. Mind the track limits in the upcoming section, because they are really unforgiving and always give you a slowdown, sometimes even before you receive an off-track. Attack the curb, get back on the throttle as soon as you hit it, but be careful. This is probably the most dangerous spot for slowdown penalties around the whole track, so keep this in mind when you are racing. Respect this outside area as well. Usually you can use them, but this one also gives you a slowdown penalty should you drive too far over the curb. Drive onto the curb again to hit a wide entry. You really want to hit a wide entry here, because then you don't need to lift for the upcoming left-hander. Attack the curb and keep pushing the car to the left. Straighten the wheel on the short straight before the last turn, aim for the right edge of the track and hit the brakes. You only want to brake for the last turn, there's no need to shift down. We are heading onto a long straight, which means that you want to hit a late apex, and that means that you want to let the car swing a bit away from the curb, turn it, engage the throttle again, and then accelerate smoothly towards the finish line. Again, because I don't usually say this, but respect the track limits. If you get too far onto the runoff area on the left, then you will receive a slowdown penalty. Enjoy the upcoming cockpit lap, where you can see the whole lap without any interruptions. I want to thank you for your support, wish you all the best for the next weekend. See you next time!